usually when I cover a sports movie, I usually joke about how it's the manliest sport in the world, or how it's the girliest sport in the world, you know, something like that. But I really don't have anything like that in the canon this time around, because this time we're talking about lacrosse, and I actually like lacrosse quite a bit. In fact, I decided to forego the usual teal hat in favor of this guy right here. There was actually a time when Major League Lacrosse had actual honest-to-God national TV time, and I tuned in every chance I could, and I watched me some lacrosse, and it is a very fascinating sport, and I really loved a lot of the games. Even when my boys up here, the Denver Outlaws, weren't playing, I still caught the other games because I wanted to learn more about this game. I wanted to learn all the intricacies, all the terminology, all the good stuff. And then a couple of years later, Major League Lacrosse disappeared from television in favor of appearing on the LAX network. And it's my understanding the LAX network is a lot like the NFL network or the NHL network. It plays all lacrosse all the time, which is understandable, but it kind of sucks, partly because I would have to pay like an extra $15 a month to get it on my cable plan, back when I had cable. And also because, you know, it kind of looked like the league was going places. At the time I was paying attention, they actually added teams to Atlanta and Houston, and it was really looking like this league was going places, but I couldn't tell you anything about how it's going right now. Last thing I heard, Denver beat Houston in the championship game, and that was like, what, 2 years ago at the time of this recording? All this is kind of a moot point, though, because we're going to be talking about a lacrosse movie, particularly Crooked Arrows. Crooked Arrows is a sports movie, and unless you've never seen a sports movie, you already know how this movie is going to play out. Don't even trip. Just in case you're that one guy who's never seen a sports movie, here's the bullet points for you. A former player who was at the top of his game no longer is at the top of his game, and he finds himself trying to adapt to the real world, when suddenly wacky shenanigans ensue, and the next thing you know, he's having to coach a team of young people in order to get them to the state championship, and along the way he learns all about what it is to love the sport and love the team and all that stuff. Blah blah blah. You have already seen this movie before. Even if you don't think you've seen this movie before, you've already seen it before. And don't let all the imagery of lacrosse fool you. You've seen this movie before. I'll admit, I was hesitant to dunk on this movie at first. Not because it's one of my favorite sports, but because of all the Native American imagery that goes into this movie. The Native American symbolism is a really nice twist to an otherwise formulaic movie from start to finish, but honestly, Whiteo over here has no right to really talk about authenticity and Native American symbolism, and any attempt at that would probably get me criticized for being, you know, not progressive enough, or you're doing it wrong, or shut up Whitey, etc., etc. Then I actually looked at other people's reviews, and yeah, this is not a well-remembered movie. Specifically, my old haunt Metacritic apparently has this set at a 42 out of 100, which you could do worse, but you could do so much better, and I look at this movie myself, and yeah, I can totally see how they got that number. Honestly, it's not a bad movie. It's barely a good movie. I would just say at absolute worst. As I said earlier, you've already seen this movie. This movie is a slave to the formula. I mean, I could literally look at my phone and, you know, do my Twitter and then look up and see what point we were at in the movie, and I didn't feel like I missed a damn thing at any point. Also, you gotta love the subplot of, if you can ask me in the native language out to dinner, then maybe I'll accept. Yeah, you know, because that's a realistic offer that will totally hold up. You know, I learned the language, and then I ask her out to dinner in the language as she specifically told me, and she's still gonna blow me off, because that's how it works in reality. It's gonna take a lot more than learning a language to seduce the woman, man, I'm just saying. I don't know, I honestly thought I was gonna have more to say about this movie when I sat down to record, and there's really nothing I can say about this movie that couldn't also be said about literally any other sports movie. I do suppose one of the big no-nos this movie does is it really does not go out of its way to explain how lacrosse works, and We're not really talking about something like Days of Thunder with NASCAR or something like any given football movie or baseball movie that probably doesn't do the same, but a significant amount of people watch football and baseball and even NASCAR, and they already know how that sport works. I don't think a lot of people really know how lacrosse works. Also, if you're a bit on the snowflake side of things, it really doesn't pay as much tribute to Native American culture as you would probably want it to. I've been told, like, some critics have said that, like, it does include a lot of Native American imagery, and kudos to them for trying, but apparently it could do a lot better, and that is a criticism I am personally not touching with a 50-foot pole, but that's just what they say. Overall, you could probably do worse, but at the same time, you could probably do better. 2 hats out of 4. And that's going to do it for this week's edition of It Came from Pluto TV. Tune in next time when I bring back the teal hat and do away with this one. And I'll probably talk about a whole different movie. Maybe it has something to do with sports, most likely not. I guess you'll have to tune in to see. Until then, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell to show you mean it. And I'll see you next time. Don't know why I did that. I'm going to have to pick it up in a minute.